about unofficial ambassadors and also our summer service internship program specifically. We've sent 49 students, both undergraduate and graduate students, to 4 different countries over the last 3 years through this program. They've come from 23 different colleges or universities. So as you can see in the chat box, I've posted a link to a remote Prezi presentation that I'm going to walk you through. And there's also, if you don't have the one-pager that Kathleen sent out, I believe yesterday, you can click on our website, and there's a number of details there about application and program dates and program fees. But so let me get started. I want to introduce you to some of our alumni first. And this first young woman, can you see the Prezi presentation? Are we all right on that front? You can also, if you should be able to look at Kathleen's screen, if you haven't been able to bring up the presentation, take a look at Kathleen's screen, and she'll do a remote screen share so that you can see, you can follow along.
Okay.
So this first young woman is Amber, and she's a graduate of Duke University, and she interned with us 3 years ago in Morocco. The picture on the left is a village, a shepherding village, where we send interns to teach French to the children in their one-room schoolhouse. Amber, though, taught English at a community center right outside of Ifran. Excellent community center that offers all different kinds of programs geared at risk youth and dropouts, vocational training courses. They also have a medical clinic that services the community. They've never actually, until we sent Amber and another young woman there to volunteer, they never actually were able to offer English language classes, though. English is the 4th language in Morocco at best. And Amber and this other young woman taught English classes to adults and also to youth who had dropped out. And they had identified that they really wanted to do this, and they saw it as a possibility to advance themselves along. And Amber and Joelle, the other young woman from the University of Maryland, they did such a wonderful job that we've been able to send English teachers there every summer, and we actually have a student there through our semester abroad program teaching English right now. And this is an example of providing a resource that was foreign to this community, but that enabled people in the community to achieve their interests and move themselves along in a positive way. This next example, this is Lisa Lott, and she just recently graduated from Georgetown, where she played tennis and she studied international public health. And we sent her to Zanzibar to teach chemistry at a public high school. That we have a relationship with the Ministry of Education there, and we've been able over the last few summers to provide science, English, computer science teachers to them. And that these are also young people who run after-school culture clubs and debate clubs, and it's really quite a valuable resource for these public high schools that are pretty resource-strapped, to be honest about it. Another example I'd like to talk about is Oksana, and she's actually still a student at the College of New Jersey in Trenton, and she's pre-med, and she went to Tajikistan to volunteer with the only autism NGO in Tajikistan. And in Tajikistan, autism is treated like a disease where autistic children or adults are institutionalized, and the state doesn't really provide any additional resources to help families work and care for their family members who they're trying to help achieve their highest level of potential. So this organization that was started by the mother of an autistic child and several other families offers different kinds of trainings and group activities and different kinds of therapy sessions, and also advocacy on autism in Tajikistan. Missing from their formula or from their capacity, though, is a website. That an organization like this relies almost entirely on foreign funding. And so Oksana and another young woman volunteered with this organization called Aroda, and they developed their first website. And they also did some research for funding possibilities, and then they trained the staff in how to translate the website into Russian and Tajik. And last summer, we sent another volunteer to continue working with this organization to do different activities with the children and the families, but also, to help with this kind of capacity of the organization of helping the staff to update the website, doing tutorials, and doing other kinds of funding research. Last example that I'll talk about in terms of our alumni is Courtney. She's pictured to the left, and she studied history at Washington College in Maryland. And we sent her to work with a women's empowerment NGO in Yogyakarta, Indonesia. And this particular NGO is doing advocacy on various issues, but they also had an arm that does domestic counseling for victims of abuse. And while Courtney by no means is an expert on art therapy, these counselors had never heard of art therapy before, and so over the course of her summer there, she put together a number of workshops where she trained them in different techniques that they could use with both adults and children. And I mention all of these young people at the start as I bring up our mission here, because our conviction is that each one of us has the potential to make a difference in our international relations. Perhaps not on issues of war and peace, but on these very important human development issues that have far-reaching consequences both internally and then externally. And we have this vision where we want to see Americans from all walks of life and different backgrounds strive to build mutual respect, prosperity, and dignity with our counterparts in the Muslim world. And we're a part of a not-for-profit organization here in Washington, D.C. I've been working on and studying these issues of America and the Muslim world and the Middle East for about 20 years now. And I'll say that aside from the days or weeks after 9/11, we've never been in a worse circumstance in terms of levels of ignorance in this country and the stretches that we need to go in order to bridge these divides between the United States and different communities across Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. And as this not-for-profit organization, I want to distinguish ourselves from for-profit companies or travel business. That these programs actually over the last 3 years, they've been subsidized to about 25% of the actual program fees, because people donate in order to help us achieve this mission and to get more Americans involved in our international relations. And so I think that that's a very important thing to keep in mind as you think about our different programs. All of our programs have these three goals that I've put up here. And to tie these together, take a look at this picture. These are young women in a high school in Yogyakarta where we send volunteers to teach English because they've decided they want to speak English, and that will help them in terms of their future civic prospects, their future economic prospects, employment. And so we're having its impact on human development challenges, but we're also dispelling stereotypes at the same time. These young women, when they think of America, right now they're thinking about Donald Trump, and they're thinking about policies related to Syrian refugees, or our fight with ISIS, or our initial decision to go to war in Iraq. And so when we send our volunteers to go and be a part of their community and to do positive things, that challenges those negative stereotypes that are pervasive. The other piece is that we're building mutual understanding, that our unofficial ambassadors become these young women, their unofficial ambassadors, and they come home and they have a commitment to give presentations in their communities, and at their church, on their university campus, in their synagogue, wherever it may be, public library. Share these young women with the vast majority of Americans who don't think they've ever met a Muslim before, or watch images on TV that are horrifying and think that this speaks for a religion of more than 1 billion people. And so these three goals are part of all of our programs. The one that I know that you're most interested in today is our summer service internship program. Let me give you a few details on that, and I'll try to leave a couple of minutes at the end for questions. So these are 5 to 8 week individual placements that are staggered over the course of the summer, depending upon what country you're interested in or what type of organization or school you want to place with. With each one of our partners, we put together a very specific scope of work for what the volunteer/intern will be doing and how it will fit into their mission as an organization as a school, and how to move them further along. That's for them in particular. For our intern, we help them to put together an individual work plan that outlines their personal and their professional goals that this internship or this placement will help them to achieve. We have check-ins along the way as part of their internship, and then when they come back, we work with them on thinking about what are the next steps in achieving these goals. Those are individual parts of the program. We also take advantage of economies of scale as we put together this internship program. We put 6 to 10 interns in a country at the same time. They live together either on a university campus or in shared apartments in Stonetown or in central Dushanbe. They take language classes together. Now, these aren't the kind of language classes that you would get university credit for, but rather they're more geared towards survival skills in Kiswahili or in Bahasa or Darija in Morocco, or you actually have a choice in Tajikistan between Farsi, Russian, or Tajik language. And then we also run a series of cultural trips and site visits so that students, they're going to get such a good insight into the communities where they're serving, but then this will also round out their experience in a different way by visiting different UNESCO World Heritage Sites, or in Indonesia, they spend a day planting rice and paddies, and just different things in each place that give you insight into the culture of that place. And then very importantly, we do weekly reflection sessions with our in-country coordinator where we talk about our challenges and our opportunities as part of these experiences. So I started off with our mission, and I talked about why this is so important that we get more Americans involved in our international relations. I think it's critical, though, for our interns and students to advocate for themselves and to be going into this and saying, you know, what's in it for me too? And to briefly answer that, there's a couple major points here. One, there's an opportunity to earn academic credit. We have a relationship with the College of New Jersey where you can take an internship course while you're doing this internship and earn 4 credits. We also do individual memorandum of understanding or other types of agreements where we supervise independent study for students at other universities where we have a formal relationship yet. Students can also earn a certificate in citizen diplomacy by fulfilling the internship requirements, doing at least 180 hours of direct service, and doing their presentation, writing, or putting together 4 different blog posts over the course of the summer. That certificate in citizen diplomacy is an opportunity to talk about the cross-cultural experience and language skills that you get out of this kind of experience. As I mentioned, the opportunities to publish on our blog, and then we also have a formal mentoring program that students are invited to join after they complete the program, where they can gain guidance while they're still in school or as they enter the job market about which direction they would like to head in. What are the different kinds of placements that we have? As I mentioned, we largely place people with non-governmental organizations working in these areas. I would say that for those who are interested in working in the not-for-profit sector, even if it's in the United States, not overseas, there are just these tremendous opportunities that one receives interning overseas in a developing country that you would never receive interning, let's say, for instance, in our office here in Washington, D.C. If we had our interns over the summer or during the school year, they don't design websites. They probably write some text for our existing website. Just an example, they certainly aren't writing research or funding proposals or doing monitoring and evaluation assessments. And so there's a real opportunity here to gain significant experience. And I should mention that all of our placements are on our website, listed by country. And when you apply to specific placements. You list your first 3 choices. And you submit a resume, you evaluate you based upon your qualifications for these positions. You don't have to. About half of our placements are in a teaching capacity, whether it's in a school, high school, or primary school, or if it's a community center. And I think that frequently students think that they have to want to be a teacher in order to do this kind of internship and benefit from it. But if you want to work in any aspect of international relations, public health, area of sociology, you're studying history, that our schools are the window into our lives in a community. And that, like we talk about Lisa a lot at teaching chemistry in Zanzibar, by going to a Zanzibari public school on a daily basis and becoming friends with students and learning, it's just such an opportunity to learn about what are the challenges and the opportunities and daily life in these different places. And so while you do need to have previous experience teaching and working with young people to do one of these placements, it doesn't mean that you're on the fast track to, you have to want to be an educator to really succeed in this and to take advantage of this as an opportunity. So the last thing that I want to say before turning to your questions, and this is a picture of Emma, a young woman who we sent also to Zanzibar to teach in a public school, and you know, they say pictures worth 1,000 words, and I think that's certainly the case here. These people are thinking about signature experiences while they're in college, and this is that kind of experience that just absolutely changes your life. That our unofficial ambassadors put so much into these experiences and helping people in the community and trying to change people's trajectories or speed up their trajectory when they're in a really productive direction. But you can't underestimate what this does for our unofficial ambassadors in terms of the experiences that they gain and you know, really the people who they meet and the directions their lives take because of these experiences. That I think that, you know, when we talk about study abroad, that, you know, I say from my own personal experience, I think back on my study abroad experience, you know, 20 years ago, and you know, I remember the most about college, and that's why I'm doing this work today, is because of the things that I did and things that happened to me over that experience and the friends that I made who are still my friends today. So let me leave it there, and we can go to questions that you have, and I'm happy to give them a shot.
I have a question. Do you have any collaboration with the State University of Zanzibar when you go to Zanzibar?
You know, we don't. When we initially started the program, we did have a number of meetings with SUSE, and then they moved campuses, and in that whole process, we have not been able to create a formal partnership with them. It's something that we would like to revisit with them, but our major implementing partner in Zanzibar is Zayed Issa.
Is Dr. Issa Zidi?
Is Zayed Issa, and Dr. Omar, who runs the organization.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
And I don't know. Emily says she doesn't have earphones or have microphone
Okay.
working. Maybe she can. Emily can type a question.
Emily, if you have any questions, you can type them in, and I will also type in my email here if you'd like to do follow-up questions. The email of Kathleen, who is our program students every day.
Yeah.
Brandy, how about you? Do you have any questions?
Emily has 2 questions.
Oh, okay, good.
Type them.
Well, Emily, okay, here we go. Are most of the students undergraduate or graduate students that normally go on these internships? So the vast majority of the students who do these internships are undergraduate students. As I mentioned...
Type them because she doesn't...
Oh, you can't hear anything either? Oh, no. Okay.
I think so.
And for those who are watching on YouTube, and we can send, Emily, we can send you the link to this as well. We have students that finish their freshman year who are rising sophomores who do this. We also have students who have just graduated and are looking to add to their experience before entering the job market that do these kinds of internships as well. As I mentioned, we've had a number of graduate students as well. And okay, we have a number of graduate students as well. And with graduate students, we've been able to tailor placements to be very specific to the programs that they're in, like doing a monitoring and evaluation framework for a equivalent of Planned Parenthood in Indonesia, or I mentioned the Women's Empowerment NGO in Indonesia. We had a student from the University of Pittsburgh's GISPIA program who did a mapping project of all their domestic abuse cases, and which they use as part of a strategic plan to deploy counselors to different places. So we try to tailor things. There, as you'll see on our website, there's a number of standing placements, but then for people who have certain skill sets, then we try to find something that will be a special project for them to do. Your other question, is there information on scholarships toward program fees? So we have a couple of different kinds of scholarships that we offer, and we have share information on that. That should be on our website. These are small scholarships, though, because basically what we do is the fundraising for this is that we raise funds, and then we take the amount raised off of the total cost for everybody, and then we relay that cost to everyone so that everyone's program is subsidized to a certain degree. We really encourage people to look internally at their colleges and universities for various scholarships that are available, but we do have a number of connections to outside scholarship granting foundations or funds, and then we have our own small internal scholarship. It's called a Mosaic Scholarship that is usually about $250 to $500. Okay, and then the other question from Emily, is there a level of language proficiency that is required for students before going? No, that's a good question.
Because I don't think she hears.
Okay. No survival language classes through the week. Towards beginner. Please. Okay, before we wrap up, usually this is the first question. We had other good first questions. I just want to show you this slide on safety. This is the most important thing from our perspective, and it's something we take the philosophy of prevention in terms of setting up these programs and being prepared in the event that anything should happen and having a quick response. But this is what we do in every country in terms of our operating procedures, that we handpick our organizations. This is something I used to do at the State Department as part of civil society strengthening Middle East and North Africa, and we have a specific criteria that we follow. We have a full-time country coordinator in each country who visits each placement on a weekly basis, meets with each volunteer on a weekly basis on an individual level, and also facilitates our reflection sessions. We handpick our housing, and are scrupulous in terms of a whole checklist that we go through with the housing. With transportation, I think this is actually probably the area of biggest risk in most of these different countries or in the developing world. And so as part of your program fee, we cover the cost of taking you back and forth to your placement in the event that it's more than a 15-minute walk from your housing. And then we also equip each one of our unofficial ambassadors with a cell phone so that in the event that there's a national emergency, we can reach you. And if you are in a personal circumstance where you need to reach out, that you're able to call a country coordinator and let him or her know that you're in need of support.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, and I'd love to continue the conversation. I know Indiana is a flagship school for Kiswahili. We would love to have IU students go to Zanzibar. And for others who are watching, you have my email in the chat box. You have Kathleen's email. Please feel free to reach out, and we can continue the conversation. Thank you so much for joining, though.
Okay.
Bye.